Welcome to Zoe Stories. Mom said, "You'll wear what I say." Now I'm her pretty daughter. I was 19. Quiet. Awkward. The kind of guy who stayed invisible in a room, even when he tried to speak up. After my father left, Mom and I barely survived. Her smiles became rare. Her voice sharper. She wasn't cruel, just cold. Focused. Her world was about survival, appearance, and reputation. And I was a disappointment, especially after I dropped out of college. I didn't mean to. I just couldn't do it. The pressure, the anxiety, the constant sense that I was failing everyone. I told her I needed time, that I'd get a job, help out around the house, that things would be fine.
She didn't yell.
She didn't scream. She just stood there, arms crossed, and said, "If you live under my roof, you live by my rules." I nodded, swallowing guilt. I understand. But I didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. That night, she didn't speak to me during dinner. The silence was unbearable. Every clink of her fork against the plate echoed in my head. I tried to make conversation. "I've been looking into warehouse jobs. Nothing fancy, but—" "Don't waste your breath," she cut in, eyes cold. "You'll do exactly as I say from now on. I'm done trusting your judgment." Something in her tone made me shiver. The next morning, I woke up to something strange. A pink dress was laid neatly on my bed. At first, I thought it was a joke. Some weird punishment or twisted prank. I picked it up, confused. It was soft.
Silky. Real.
Elegant even. Something a girl would wear to brunch or a beauty salon. Not loud, just pretty. There was a note underneath, in Mom's sharp handwriting.
"Put it on."
No questions. My stomach sank. Was she serious? I walked downstairs, still in my pajamas, dress folded in my hands. "Mom, what is this?" She turned slowly from the kitchen sink, drying a glass, her expression unreadable. "That's your new uniform." I blinked. "What? You don't want school.
You don't want a job.
You want to freeload and hide in this house like some helpless child?
Fine.
Then you'll be exactly that. Helpless. And obedient." I was stunned. "You can't be serious." "Put it on," she said again, voice calm.
Too calm.
"Or pack your things and get out." I stood there, frozen. Everything in me wanted to shout, to say no, to run. But I didn't. I just stood there like a fool. Her eyes were locked on mine, like she was daring me to challenge her. "You've disappointed me for years, Noah," she said, finally using my name. "Now I'm going to mold you into something useful. Something graceful. Something presentable. Whether you like it or not." "Why a dress?" I managed to ask, barely above a whisper. She turned her back to me and calmly said, "Because I said so." And that's when it started. Not with screaming. Not with violence.
Just with a dress.
And a rule I didn't dare break. I didn't put the dress on right away. I held it in my hands like it might explode if I got too close. My fingers trembled just touching the fabric. So soft, so smooth, so wrong. It didn't belong to me. It wasn't meant for me. And yet, Mom had left it on my bed, not hers. I stood in the hallway for what felt like an eternity, heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. My room suddenly felt like a cage. My own home, hostile.
Was this some lesson?
Some twisted punishment to shock me into action? Was she testing how far I'd go to stay under her roof?
Part of me almost laughed.
"This is insane," I whispered aloud. But her voice echoed from downstairs. "I'm waiting, Noah." Flat. Unemotional. As if she already knew how this would end. I shut my bedroom door slowly, locking it behind me. Not that it mattered. She had the spare key. She had everything. I looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize the boy staring back. Pale, scared, too thin. His eyes looked tired. His hair hung limp over his forehead. No strength. No confidence. No escape. I set the dress on the bed and stood there unmoving. 5 minutes passed. 10. Finally, I took off my shirt, then my boxers. Each layer felt like I was peeling away protection. My bare skin shivered in the morning air. Then I picked up the dress. The moment it slipped over my shoulders, I gasped. It hugged my body.
Gently.
Clingy in all the wrong places. The neckline was modest, but the cut exposed the slight curves of my chest and the narrow shape of my waist. I didn't even have curves, but somehow the fabric made it feel like I did. I couldn't believe it fit. But of course it did.
She planned this.
When I stepped into the hallway again, I felt like I was walking into a nightmare. My hands were shaking. My breath caught in my throat. I tried to keep my posture neutral, but the hem of the dress brushed against my thighs with every step, reminding me I was wrong. With every step, shame followed me like a shadow. I paused at the top of the stairs. I couldn't go down. What if she laughed? What if she took pictures? What if this wasn't the end, but just the beginning? Come down, sweetheart. I froze.
Sweetheart?
Her voice was sickly sweet, like honey poured over poison. I forced my feet down the stairs. She was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping tea, phone in hand, as calm as ever. Her eyes flicked up and stayed there. I don't know what I expected. Laughter? Disgust?
Anger?
But she just smiled. Not warm, not cruel, just satisfied. Turn around, she said. I hesitated.
Now.
I did. It fits. I was right. Mom, what is this? I croaked. It's called obedience, she said. You'll be learning it very well. I stood there, burning inside the dress. Take me seriously, I said. This isn't funny. Oh, I'm dead serious, she replied, rising from her chair. You've had every chance to be the son I needed. Now I need something else. She walked over to me and reached out to adjust the sleeve of the dress on my shoulder, like it was perfectly normal. Like she'd done this 100 times before. From now on, she said, you'll wear what I say. You'll learn what I want you to learn. You'll act how I tell you to act. If you want to stay under my roof, you'll become my daughter. The words hit me like a slap. Mom, please. No more arguments, she said. Noah is gone. You'll be someone better. Someone softer. Someone beautiful. She stepped back and looked me over like I was a canvas she had just begun painting. You'll call yourself Ella from now on. Just a trial. A practice name. Let's see how it fits. I couldn't breathe. Ella? She moved past me, walked to the hallway closet, and opened it wide. I stared. The inside was no longer filled with coats or old junk. It was full of clothes. Dresses. Skirts. Blouses.
Heels. Bras. Wigs.
Makeup. All organized. All ready. She turned back to me with a wicked calm in her eyes. Welcome to your new closet, Ella. My legs nearly gave out. This wasn't a punishment. This was a plan.
She had been planning this.
And somehow, I had just walked into it like a fool. I didn't remember sitting down, but I was on the kitchen stool now, arms crossed tightly across my chest, trying to hide what the dress revealed. My knees pressed together. My voice, when I spoke, was small. Pathetic. You're joking, right? Mom, this is crazy. She poured herself another cup of tea and said nothing. I tried again. I'll get a job. I'll do the dishes, the laundry, whatever you want. Just not this. Her gaze lifted.
Calm.
Unshakable. You had every chance to act like a man, Noah. You failed. Repeatedly. I'm done waiting for you to become something you're not. Her words hit harder than I expected. Something I'm not? You're saying I was meant to be a girl? I asked, laughing nervously. That's ridiculous.
Not meant, she said.
But better off. She stood, walked over, and lifted my chin with 2 fingers. Her touch was soft. Cold. You've never known who you are. You've never taken control. So now, I will. She led me to the hallway, to the full-length mirror near the closet she had filled. Look at yourself. I looked. A boy in a pink dress. Fragile.
Exposed.
Shamed. Now imagine how pretty you'll look when we're done, she said gently. When your hair is styled. When your waist is cinched. When your lashes flutter and your lips shine. I looked away. Why are you doing this to me? I asked, my voice cracking. Because I gave birth to a blank slate. And I'm finally going to make something out of you. She left me alone for the rest of the day, but the damage was done. I sat in my room, dress still clinging to me, unable to change out of it. Because I knew what would happen if I did. She was testing me, waiting for disobedience. And if I took it off, I'd lose everything. That night, there was a knock on my door. "Come in," I said softly. She entered, carrying something folded in her hands.
Lace. White.
Thin straps. "Your nightwear," she said. I blinked. "You're kidding. Ella doesn't sleep in boxers." I didn't argue. Not anymore. I waited until she left. I held the nightgown like it was poison. But in the mirror, I saw myself again, still in the dress. Shoulders drooped. Eyes lost. I didn't see Noah anymore. Not really. Not clearly. And a terrible thought crawled into my mind like a whisper. What if she's right? I slipped the nightgown on. It was so light. Like wearing air. Too short. Too sheer. Too real. When I crawled into bed that night, my legs were smooth against the sheets. I felt foreign in my own skin. My body wasn't mine. My name wasn't mine. And sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, she knocked once and opened the door without waiting. She saw the nightgown on me and nodded. "Good girl." The word shattered me. She set a small box on the desk and said, "Today, we begin your real training. Makeup.
Posture. Voice.
You'll address me as mother from now on. You'll answer to Ella. And if you don't eat. You don't leave. You don't exist." I sat up, trembling. "You're serious?"
Deadly.
"And if I leave?" I whispered. She smiled darkly. "Then I'll tell the world what you are. I've taken photos, sweetheart. Videos. One press of a button, and everyone you know will see Ella, the shy little boy in the pink dress, begging to be pretty." My mouth went dry. She had everything covered. "Why are you doing this to me?" I asked again, choking on the question. "Because I want a daughter," she said, stepping closer. "And I've waited far too long." And just like that, the door closed. And my life, as I knew it, did too. The next morning, my bedroom door creaked open before the sun had even risen. I pulled the covers up instinctively, still in the sheer nightgown that left little to the imagination. "Up," Mom said firmly. "We start today. And Ella doesn't sleep in." I didn't move.
Now.
There was no softness in her voice anymore. Just control.
Authority.
A new role she had fully embraced. I swung my legs off the bed and stood, body aching with exhaustion and dread. She handed me a robe. Pink, fuzzy, overly feminine, and said, "Bathroom.
Shower.
Shave everything.
Legs. Arms. Chest.
Underarms. You're not a boy anymore, Ella. Girls don't have stubble." The mirror in the bathroom fogged with steam, but I still saw the ghost of a boy in the reflection. A confused, humiliated boy. And I obeyed. Razor in hand, I began to scrape away my last layer of protection. Hair fell away in strips, like pieces of armor I didn't realize I'd worn. By the time I stepped out of the shower, my skin felt alien.
Smoother.
Vulnerable. When I returned to my room, she was waiting. On the bed was the full outfit she had picked. And it was so much worse than the dress. There was a bra. Lacy. Padded. White with little pink bows. Panties. Silk. Delicate. A perfect match. A garter belt. Stockings. A pleated skirt so short it would barely cover anything. A soft blouse with puffed sleeves and a little ribbon collar. Then I saw them. The heels.
White.
Open toe. Maybe 3 inches. And beside the shoes, a long, chestnut brown wig. My knees weakened. "Put it on," she said calmly. I didn't move. "If I have to dress you, it'll be worse." Every movement was slow. My fingers fumbled with the unfamiliar fabric. The bra was tight. The padding pushed my chest forward, making it look like I had curves. The panties were snug, too snug. The skirt slid over my hips like silk. She watched me the entire time, correcting me, guiding me like I was a doll being assembled. Smooth your skirt when you sit. Cross your legs. Back straight. Then came the stockings. She sat me down and helped clip them into the garter belt herself. Her hands were clinical, like this was all a chore, like I was her little project. When the blouse went on and she tied the ribbon at my collar, she stepped back to admire. Adorable, she murmured. But we weren't done. She sat me down at the vanity table she'd installed overnight, without me even noticing. The box she'd brought earlier was now open. Lipsticks, eyeshadow palettes, mascara, blush, foundation, sponges, brushes. She didn't speak much, just gave short commands. Look up. Close your eyes. Don't flinch. She worked like an artist, patient, precise. I watched in the mirror as colors transformed my face. My cheekbones sharpened. My lips turned soft pink. My lashes grew long and dark. The wig was the final piece. She adjusted it over my hairline, brushing it out with slow strokes. When she was done, she turned the mirror toward me. Look. I did. I didn't recognize the face staring back. Big eyes. Glossy lips. Shimmering cheeks. Framed by long, flowing brown hair. A girl. A pretty girl. Say your name, she said, standing behind me. I couldn't speak. Say it, Ella. Ella, I whispered. Again. Ella, I said louder. She smiled. Good girl. And then the doorbell rang. I jumped. Who is that? I asked, panic rising in my throat. Breakfast, she said with a smirk. You're going to the cafe with me. I froze. You can't be serious. Girls go out in public. They get seen, complimented, judged. I'm not ready. You don't get ready, she snapped. You obey. I shook my head. Please, not yet. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. One photo.
Me.
In the nightgown. Lipstick smeared. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. 10 minutes later, I was in the passenger seat of her car. My legs were trembling. My fingers clutched my little purse like it was a lifeline. My reflection in the window stared back. Long hair, glossy lips, terrified eyes. And that was the day the world saw Ella, for the first time. The cafe wasn't even crowded. But to me, it felt like a stadium of 1,000 eyes. Each one watching me, judging me, tearing me apart. I stepped out of the car like I was walking onto a stage. My heels clicked against the pavement, throwing off my balance. The breeze tickled the hem of my skirt, reminding me, humiliatingly, that I wasn't wearing boxers anymore. Just silk. Just lace. Just vulnerability. Mom walked 2 steps ahead, chin high, composed. She didn't even glance back to check on me.
She didn't need to.
She knew I wouldn't run. Not when she had those photos. Not when I was dressed like this. Not when I looked like
Ella.
As we entered, the soft chime above the cafe door rang, and a couple heads turned. I panicked. My hand instinctively moved to my face. Was my lipstick smudged? Was the wig slipping? Was my skirt too short? Was my walk too wrong? We sat at a small table by the window. Mom ordered for both of us, without asking what I wanted. 2 cappuccinos. And a croissant for her. Her. That word hit harder than anything. I kept my eyes down. But I felt it. A presence. Someone staring. I glanced up and met his gaze. He couldn't have been older than 21. Sharp jawline. Casual hoodie. He was seated 2 tables over, looking at me with a kind of interest that made my stomach churn. And then he smiled. At me. Not a mocking smile. Not cruel. Just genuine. I looked away, cheeks burning. You're blushing, Mom said calmly, stirring her drink. That's good. It makes you prettier. He's staring, I whispered. Of course he is. You're dressed to be stared at. My hands were trembling so badly, I could barely lift the cup. I don't want this, I muttered. You don't know what you want, she said, taking a slow sip. But you'll learn. The guy approached. My pulse spiked. I froze. Hey, he said, voice warm. Sorry, but I just wanted to say, you look really nice today.
No. Not me.
He wasn't talking to me.
He couldn't be.
Thanks, I choked out, barely able to look up. He smiled again. Cute outfit. And then he walked away. I couldn't breathe. He thought I was a girl, I whispered. Mom didn't even look up from her phone. That's the point. I rushed to the restroom, locked the door, stared into the mirror. Who was this? Glossy lips, thick lashes, flushed cheeks, shimmering eyeshadow, soft hair. My breathing was uneven. I'm not a girl, I whispered. I'm not. But I didn't believe it anymore. The image in the mirror didn't argue. I sat on the toilet, skirt bunched up, face in my hands. And for the first time, I cried. Not because I was dressed like a girl, but because someone liked it. And part of me liked that they liked it. When I finally returned to the table, Mom looked up and smiled slightly. Emotional breakdown in the bathroom?
Good.
That means it's working. I didn't answer. I didn't even sit. I just whispered, "Can we go home?" She stood and gathered her bag. "Only if you say it." "Say what?" She leaned closer. "Say, I'm your daughter, Ella, and I'm ready to be beautiful." My lips parted. I couldn't. I wouldn't. But her fingers hovered over her phone again. The threat, implied but sharp. My throat clenched. "I'm your daughter, Ella," I whispered. "And I'm ready to be beautiful." And with that, she smiled, like the artist who had just broken her canvas. The ride home was silent. I sat in the passenger seat, legs crossed, because she had drilled that into me already. Hands clasped on my lap, wig slightly tilted from the rush into the restroom, lip gloss faintly smudged. Still, I looked like a girl. Worse, I looked like a girl trying to be a girl. And somehow, that made the humiliation deeper. Back home, she handed me a bottle of makeup remover and sent me straight to the vanity. I stared at myself for a long time before lifting the cotton pad. The slow smearing of mascara, the gliding wipe of lipstick, all of it peeled back a layer of something I didn't know I'd grown attached to. The makeup was fake, but the girl in the mirror had started to feel real. She entered without knocking, again. I barely flinched anymore. In her hands were two things, a thin binder labeled voice training module, feminine range, and a tablet loaded with videos. "We've got a lot to work on," she said. "You already control what I wear," I muttered. "Isn't that enough?" She smiled faintly. "Oh, Ella, you're still thinking like a boy. This isn't about control anymore. It's about perfection." She sat next to me, opened the binder, and flipped to the first page. A diagram of vocal cords, breath control, pitch diagrams, vowel shaping. "Your voice gives you away," she said. "That rough edge, the low tone, it ruins the illusion." Maybe that's because I'm not a girl. Yet. And so it began. I spent the next hour practicing vowel sounds.
K.
A. You. Over and over. She sat across from me, correcting every sound. Soften the tone. Use your breath, not your throat. No boy growls. Try again. The first few times I broke. The sounds came out cracked, uneven, ridiculous. I felt like a clown, a puppet, a mockery, and she loved every moment of it. "You'll thank me one day," she whispered. "When they call you pretty, when you pass, when no one remembers the sad little boy you used to be." That night, as I lay in bed, wearing the soft lavender nightgown she had upgraded me to, I whispered to myself in the dark. "Hi, I'm Ella." The voice was breathy,
Weak.
feminine. Not mine, but not hers either. Something in between. And terrifyingly, it came easier than I thought. The next morning, she woke me early again. This time, instead of just a dress, she handed me a padded bra, heavier, and a corset. "Your posture is still slouched," she said. "And your waist needs work." The corset was tight. So tight. I gasped as she pulled the strings. "Beauty takes discipline," she said, almost gently. "You want them to look at you and see a girl, right?" I didn't answer, but the part of me that remembered the boy from the cafe, the one who smiled at me, winced. Because that smile had felt good. Then came the walking lessons. In heels. On hardwood floors. Back straight. Hips soft. Chin up. I stumbled. A lot. She watched with amused patience. You fall like a boy. Fix it. How does a girl fall? I snapped, sweating. Gracefully. Quietly. Like she's not allowed to be loud, even in pain. That line haunted me. Later that afternoon, she called me into the hallway again. The mirror was waiting.
Go on, she said.
Introduce yourself. Smile. I looked at the reflection. Same padded curves. Same cinched waist. Same wig, now styled into curls. Lipstick.
Blush. Gloss.
I took a shaky breath. Hi, I'm Ella, I said, pitching my voice higher. She nodded. Smile, Ella. I did. Something twisted inside me as I saw it. The way the girl in the mirror smiled back, not uncertain, not afraid, just resigned. Good girl, she whispered. Tomorrow, we take you shopping. My stomach dropped.
Shopping. Public.
Dressing rooms.
People.
Salesgirls. Mirrors.
Eyes.
Do I have to? She leaned in close. Ella, you don't get to ask questions anymore. That night, I didn't practice my voice. I didn't cry either. I just stared at the ceiling in silence, corset still squeezing my ribs, fake breasts still pressed against my chest, and realized I didn't even know what my real voice sounded like anymore. The car ride to the mall was silent. Ethan sat stiffly in the passenger seat, the seatbelt stretched tight across the frilly white blouse his mother had buttoned all the way to the neck. A soft pink cardigan hugged his arms, and a pleated pastel skirt fanned out across his thighs, just short enough to show the white tights clinging to his legs. On his feet, pink ballet flats with little bows. His toenails, painted the same shade as his lips. His mother glanced over at him occasionally with a calm smile, as if everything about this was normal. He didn't feel normal. He felt like a porcelain doll being paraded for show. And now they were going to the mall. Please, he whispered as the car pulled into the parking lot. Can't we just go home? I'm not ready. Sweetheart, his mother said in that overly gentle tone she used when she was about to do something terrifying. We've been through this.
You're my daughter now.
And daughters go shopping with their mothers. She turned off the engine. Besides, you look adorable. That word hit him like a slap. Ethan stepped out of the car, trying not to breathe. Every step across the asphalt was a test. The breeze lifted the hem of his skirt. He pulled it down quickly, cheeks burning. People were everywhere. He wanted to vanish. His mother linked arms with him. Head up, darling. Confidence is beauty. They entered through the main glass doors, the blast of air conditioning making his legs shiver. Every sound echoed louder. He swore people were turning to look. Whispers. Side eyes. Laughter?
No.
Maybe he was imagining it. They walked straight into a brightly lit clothing store, Blush and Bloom. The kind of place he'd never stepped into as a boy. The first thing he saw, a wall of bras and panties. His stomach dropped. His mother tugged him gently. Let's find something age-appropriate. You can't just wear my old hand-me-downs forever. An overly peppy salesgirl with lavender hair approached. Shopping for back to school? She asked with a smile. Before Ethan could even open his mouth, his mother chimed in. This is my daughter, Emily. She's starting over.
Oh.
That's so brave of you, the salesgirl beamed, turning to Ethan. You're going to love our fall collection. Ethan blinked.
Emily.
That name again. That lie again. And yet, it felt real. Tangible. Inevitable. He was pulled through racks of skirts, blouses, cropped sweaters, floral jeans, and fuzzy cardigans. His mother held clothes up to his body, cooing over colors and cuts. But it wasn't just the clothes. It was the changing room. Go on, try this set, she said, handing him a few outfits and ushering him into a fitting room stall. He stood there, staring at himself in the mirror. The girl looking back at him wasn't Ethan. She was small, fragile, pretty in a soft, bookish way. Her chest was padded with inserts, her waist cinched slightly by the skirt. Her lips glossy. Her hair in a brushed, shoulder-length bob. He looked like someone who belonged in this store. He felt sick. He tried on each outfit, his mother occasionally knocking and asking for updates. Eventually, she peeked in and gasped. That one. That lilac dress is perfect on you. It's too short, Ethan mumbled, tugging it down. Nonsense. Let's show the girl at the counter. Before he could object, she grabbed his hand and pulled the curtain open. The salesgirl was waiting. Oh my God, Emily. You look amazing. Heat crawled up Ethan's face. He wanted the floor to open and swallow him. But his mother squeezed his hand. And for the first time, he didn't pull away. They bought everything. 3 bags full. Dresses. Skirts.
Tights. Bras.
Panties.
Perfume.
Lip gloss. Even a new phone case with glitter. I have a surprise for you, his mother said as they walked toward the food court. Ethan's heart dropped. Please no more. But she was already leading him to a salon. The moment they stepped in, Ethan felt the air shift. 3 women turned and looked at him, at her. The receptionist smiled. Hi. You must be Emily. Your mom called earlier. We're ready for you. Ethan froze. You what? I scheduled your appointment for today. Mani, pedi, brows, and a trim. His jaw clenched. You planned this. His mother gave him a look, equal parts sweetness and command. You need to look the part, darling. And you already do so beautifully. Why not finish the look? His chest tightened. The stylist led him to a chair before he could fight it. As the pedicure began, he stared down at his toes while the technician massaged lotion into his calves. He was too humiliated to speak. Then came the fingernails. Do you want soft pink or something bolder? The stylist asked. Ethan opened his mouth, but his mother answered for him. Soft pink. She's still shy. The girl laughed. Ah. You'll get used to it, sweetie. The words wrapped around him like chains. Finally, the mirror. His hair had been shaped, softened, styled. His brows trimmed delicately. He didn't see Ethan anymore. He saw Emily. The girl in the mirror blinked back at him, lips trembling. Mom, he whispered. She stepped up beside him. You see it now, don't you? She said softly. He wanted to scream, but instead, he just nodded. As they left the salon, Ethan noticed a group of boys from his old school across the food court. One of them locked eyes with him and smiled. Did he recognize him? Or worse, was he checking him out? He didn't know what was more terrifying. His old life catching up to him, or how much he liked being called pretty. I stood frozen in the hallway mirror, the same one that had once reflected a lanky, awkward boy who avoided eye contact with himself. Now, that boy was nowhere to be found. In his place stood a delicate, poised young woman. The transformation wasn't complete, at least not in my heart, but visually, it was undeniable. My long chestnut hair brushed softly over my shoulders, my lashes curled upward from hours of practice, and my lips shimmered in a glossy pink that I had once scoffed at in department store aisles. The tight crop top clung to me like it had known me all its life, while the high-waisted jeans shaped curves I wasn't supposed to have. My waist was cinched, my posture corrected from countless hours in heels, and the way I now instinctively placed one hand on my hip was starting to disturb me. But what truly haunted me was the look in my own eyes. I expected to see defiance. I expected fear. I expected shame. What I saw instead was recognition. What do you see? Mom asked from the doorway, arms crossed. She was sipping coffee like this was any other morning, as if her son becoming a daughter was just an everyday routine. I don't know anymore, I whispered. She stepped behind me, placing her hands on my shoulders, staring into the reflection as if assessing her masterpiece. I see a girl who's finally starting to fit into the world. Her tone was calm, but it carried weight. Every time she said something like that, it was like an anchor dropping into my soul. Is that what you wanted? I asked, voice trembling. A daughter? She didn't answer directly. You've always been too soft, too lost in your head. You never belonged in the roles you tried to force yourself into. But here, look at you now. You're not pretending anymore. This, she gestured at the mirror. This is you with a mask finally removed. But it's not, I snapped, turning around. This is a new mask. You're just better at making me wear it. She smiled, her head tilting slightly. Then why don't you take it off? I paused. The words lodged in my throat. Why didn't I? Why didn't I run to my room, scrub the makeup off, yank the wig off, rip the clothes, and scream? Because part of me didn't want to. And that truth scared me more than anything she could say. Later that day, she handed me a small pink envelope. What's this? I asked. An invitation. To what? She smirked. To your debut. I opened the card and read the details aloud. Miss Elegance Charity Gala, ladies only formal attire. Sunday night. My hands began to tremble. You want me to go as? You'll go as my daughter, she said. A beautiful, graceful girl. Just like the one you see in the mirror. But people will see me. Everyone will know. They'll see a girl. That's all. But I'm not. Aren't you? She whispered, stepping closer. If you're not, prove it. Show up as your old self. Tell the world who you really are. I wanted to scream yes. But all I could do was stare at the invitation and imagine myself walking through a sea of women, heels clicking on marble, a gown brushing my legs, being called Miss and Young Lady all night. Part of me hated the idea. Another part craved it. And I had no idea which part was louder anymore. The evening arrived far too quickly. The entire day had passed in a blur of preparations, waxing, skincare, last-minute makeup trials, and most terrifying of all, the dress. It wasn't just any dress. It was an off-shoulder, floor-length, burgundy satin gown that shimmered like spilled wine under the light. When I first saw it hanging on the door, I laughed, nervously. You're kidding, I had said. Mom wasn't. Now here I was, standing outside the grand hall of the Miss Elegance Charity Gala, heels clicking softly on the marble steps as I trembled under the night sky. My clutch shook in my hand. My nails, painted a deep ruby, dug into the satin as I took one last breath before entering. Ready? Mom asked, her own gown flowing like a queen's beside me.
No.
Good, she said. That means it matters. And then the doors opened. Light flooded over me, warm, golden, and full of expectation. Laughter and soft music drifted from inside. Women in glittering gowns turned, smiling, chatting, sipping champagne. No one paused. No one stared. No one saw a boy in disguise. They only saw her.
Me.
And that was the scariest part. I walked carefully, following Mom's lead. Every step in heels felt more natural than I wanted to admit. My hips swayed subtly, the gown brushing around my legs. I held my head up, not because I was proud, but because I had been trained to.
Posture. Poise. Grace.
A group of women passed us, complimenting Mom on your stunning daughter. She's grown into such a beauty, one said. I felt my heart skip. I smiled politely. I thanked them. And I hated how easy it was becoming. The first real jolt came when I saw him. Across the ballroom, near the grand piano. Ethan. My old best friend. My only friend. He hadn't seen me yet, but my blood went ice cold. How was he here? Why was he here? He was supposed to be out of the city for college. We hadn't spoken since before all this. Before Mom's experiment. Before the clothes, the name, the girl in the mirror. I panicked, turning to Mom. I can't be here. Ethan's here. He'll recognize me. Not if you don't let him, she said calmly. He'll just see a beautiful girl. And if he sees more than that, maybe he was always meant to. I backed away, heart pounding, ready to bolt, and ran straight into someone.
A man. Tall.
Confident. A little older. He caught me before I could fall and smiled down at me.
Whoa, he said.
Careful there. I'm so sorry, I stammered, praying my voice didn't crack. No harm done, he smiled. You're new here, aren't you? I nodded, wide-eyed. Name's Marcus, he said. You. My mouth opened. My real name nearly slipped out. But then, like it was second nature, I said, Emma. Mom's chosen name. He smiled. Well, Emma, you look stunning tonight. I blushed. Actually blushed. And when he offered his arm, I didn't know why I took it. Minutes later, I saw Ethan staring. Not with confusion. Not with recognition. But with something else.
Shock. Awe.
Maybe even jealousy? He leaned over to someone beside him and whispered, "Who's that with Marcus?" The girl replied, "Her name's Emma. I think she's the host's daughter." I felt dizzy. This was going too far. I needed to get out.
Run.
Scream. Pull the mask off.
But then Ethan walked toward me.
1 step. 2 steps. And smiled.
Hi, he said.
Have we met before? You look familiar. My world tilted. I opened my mouth. But I didn't say my name. I just smiled back and whispered,
No, I don't think we have.
I should have walked away. I should have said no, made some excuse, escaped to the powder room or vanished into the crowd. But I didn't. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it was the way Ethan looked at me, not like someone trying to expose a secret, but like someone who wanted to know me. Not the old me.
Me.
Emma. I'm Ethan, he said, offering his hand. I didn't take it at first. I stared at it, like it might burn me. Maybe it already had. I know, I replied softly. His brow furrowed. You do. I gave a half smile, willing myself not to fall apart. You're kind of hard to forget. He laughed. It was the same laugh I used to know, but now it hit differently. Not friendly. Not casual. It lingered. Inviting. Curious. Would you? He glanced toward the ballroom floor, where couples were beginning to dance, slow and close. Would you like to dance? I hesitated. One dance. What harm could one dance do? I took his hand. He led me gently, like I was made of glass. And maybe I was. A fragile illusion wrapped in heels, makeup, and a stolen name. But in that moment, I didn't feel like a lie. I felt seen. The music swelled around us, strings and soft piano, something romantic but distant, like a dream half remembered. I followed his steps, let his hands guide me. One rested lightly on my waist. The other held mine. Our eyes met. I looked away first. You're really graceful, he said. I forced a laugh. You're just saying that. No, he insisted, his voice lower now. More intimate. You remind me of someone I used to know. My breath caught. Someone close. Yeah, he said, his gaze distant. We drifted apart. I always wondered what happened to them. It's weird, but being here with you, it's like they never left. I whispered. He nodded slowly. And then,
he leaned in.
Not a full kiss.
Just a moment.
A pause. A breath between lips. And in that breath, my entire world shook. I was supposed to hate this. I was supposed to pull away. But I didn't. I stayed.
Even when it terrified me.
After the song ended, we stepped apart, unsure of what had just happened. He looked at me, searching for something behind my eyes. I'm sorry, he said. That was probably too much. I shook my head, voice barely audible.
No.
It's okay. A pause. Can I see you again? He asked. I should have run. I should have told him the truth. But instead, I heard myself say, I'd like that. Later, in the back of Mom's car, I sat in silence.
She didn't speak. She didn't need to.
Finally, she said, You let him dance with you. I know. And you didn't break character. I didn't have to, I said softly. It didn't feel like a character anymore. She smiled. Not smug. Not victorious. Just proud. Like a sculptor watching her creation come alive. And I hated how part of me felt the same. Because for the first time since this all began, I wasn't sure I wanted it to end. The next morning, I woke up expecting to feel guilt. I didn't. Not the kind that burned anyway. It was quieter now. More like a whisper than a scream. Something I could almost ignore if I just kept moving, kept pretending. But the mirror wouldn't lie. Emma stared back at me. Hair softly curled from last night's event. Mascara still clinging to lashes. Lipstick faded but not forgotten. a faint trace of Ethan's cologne on my dress where we danced. I pressed my fingers to my lips. Had I really let him get that close? Had I wanted him to? The answer came too quickly. Yes. Mom noticed. Of course she noticed. Over breakfast, she sipped her coffee like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. So, she said, voice honey-sweet, did you enjoy the dance? I kept my eyes on the cereal bowl. It was fine. Ethan's cute. I nearly choked. Mom, what? She said with a laugh. I'm just saying. You two looked good together. That's because he doesn't know, I muttered. She leaned in. Does that bother you? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Maybe it should have bothered me. But instead, all I could think about was his eyes, the warmth of his hand on my back, the way my heart had raced when he pulled me close. Was it just the illusion I liked? Or was something deeper unraveling inside me? Things escalated faster than I was ready for. Monday morning, Mom walked into my room holding a package. New uniforms came in, she said. I blinked. Uniforms? For the boutique. I ordered you your size. I stared at the soft lavender fabric in her hands. It was a blouse with delicate puffed sleeves and a skirt that flared just above the knee. You want me to wear this at work? She smiled. You're doing so well as Emma. The customers adore you. It's time you looked the part fully. I swallowed hard. But what if someone I know walks in? They won't, she said too quickly. And if they do, they won't recognize you. You're a completely different person now. That was the problem. Part of me feared she was right. The boutique felt different now. Before, it was a game, a role, something to play for an afternoon. Now, I was being groomed,
Polished.
positioned. The skirt swayed with every step I took. The heels clicked softly against the tiled floor. My voice had softened, naturally, without effort. My mannerisms followed, hips swaying slightly, a hand brushing back hair, a laugh tilted to sound lighter. Customers looked at me like I belonged. And worse, I was starting to believe it. Even Delilah said something that made me freeze. You know, she said as we folded a rack of blouses, you're a better Emma than most girls are at being girls. I laughed awkwardly. That's not really a compliment. Oh, it is, she said. You've got this confidence now. Like you're not pretending anymore. Maybe I wasn't. That night, Mom called me into the living room. Her face was unreadable. There's something I need to ask you, she said. I sat down, already bracing for whatever plan she'd cooked up. There's a conference coming up, she continued. A big fashion expo downtown. We were invited as vendors. A few influencers will be there. And I asked cautiously, I want you to be our brand rep, as Emma. I blinked. In public? All day. She nodded. Full presentation. You'll be modeling, talking to people, selling the brand. All eyes will be on you. My heart pounded. That's insane. It's an opportunity, she said, leaning forward. This could launch everything. And you could be the face of it. I'm not a model. You're more than that, she whispered. You're Emma. And the world is finally ready to meet her. A tiny voice inside me whispered, maybe I'm ready too. The expo was chaos, bright lights, flashing cameras, people buzzing with ambition and caffeine. And in the middle of it all stood me, hair styled into soft, bouncy waves. Makeup flawless, my cheekbones subtly sculpted, eyes enhanced with smoky shimmer, lips glossed to perfection. I wore the boutique's newest look, a high-waisted cream skirt with a rose blouse tucked in just right, paired with nude heels that clicked like confidence with every step. The badge on my chest didn't say Lucas. It said Emma, brand ambassador. And somehow no one questioned it. The attention was dizzying. Women came up to ask about the blouse I wore. Men offered smiles, some too long, some too hungry. An influencer even complimented my walk and asked if I'd modeled before. I smiled.
I posed.
I flirted, even just a little. It wasn't part of the plan, but it felt intoxicating. Like I had power I never had as Lucas. Mom was watching from the booth, pride shimmering in her eyes. Delilah was taking photos, capturing my angles with a professional eye. I was glowing, Too much, maybe. And then it happened. The camera flash didn't come from Delilah. It came from someone in the crowd. And when I turned to look, my heart stopped.
Jake.
My former classmate. Someone who definitely knew me as Lucas. He stared at me, eyes wide, mouth half open. He looked at his phone. Then at me. I saw it click. "Lucas," he whispered. I didn't answer.
Couldn't.
Instead, I turned around, walked back toward the booth, heels suddenly too loud in my ears, the world spinning faster than I could breathe. He followed. "Lucas, wait," he called. What the hell is going on? I ducked behind a rack of scarves, pretending to adjust them, heart racing. Delilah intercepted him, cool and collected. "Can I help you?" I think I know her," he said, clearly shaken. "That's not who you think she is." Delilah smiled sweetly. "You're mistaken. That's Emma. She's part of the brand." "But she's Emma," she repeated, firmer this time. "If you've got a problem, take it up with security." Jake hesitated, confused and flustered. And then he left. But the damage was done. Back at the hotel that night, I sat in front of the mirror, wiping away my makeup slowly.
Carefully.
Like, maybe I could erase what had happened today. Like, maybe I could go back. But as my face became bare, I didn't see Lucas returning. Not fully. Something had changed. Jake's face. His confusion. The way he almost recognized me, but not quite.
It proved something.
I had gone so far that even people from my past weren't sure who I was anymore. Mom walked in quietly. "You were incredible today," she said. He saw me. "I know. What if he tells someone?" She sat beside me. "Let them." He only saw what the rest of the world did, a beautiful, confident young woman. I looked at my reflection again. This time, I didn't argue. Because the truth was loud now. The real danger wasn't being seen. It was realizing I wanted to be. I thought I could just forget about Jake. That the expo drama would fade, and I'd slip back into the background like nothing happened. But I didn't. And neither did he. It started the next day. A message on Instagram. "Hey, Emma, right? I just wanted to say sorry if I made things weird yesterday. You looked really good.
Can we talk?"
My hands trembled. He messaged me as Emma. Either he was playing some game, or he actually saw me now. Not Lucas in a wig. Not a guy in makeup.
"Emma." I didn't reply. Not right away.
Delilah saw the message. She raised an eyebrow. "He's into you." I scoffed. "He's confused."
She smirked.
"Or maybe you're confused." But by the end of the day, I had typed and deleted a response at least 20 times. I didn't want to admit it, but his message made my heart race. Not in fear. In curiosity. 3 days later, another message came. "Look, I know this is probably crazy, but I can't stop thinking about you. If you're willing, maybe we could grab coffee? Just talk." I stared at the screen. No pressure. No questions. Just coffee. I should have said no. But instead I typed, "Okay, 1 coffee," and hit send. Delilah screamed when I told her. "You're going on a date?" She practically danced around the room. "Oh my God, Emma. You're going on a date as a girl." I grabbed a pillow and smacked her. "It's not a date." "Oh, please. He asked you out. You said yes. He thinks you're Emma. That's a date." She grinned and grabbed her makeup kit. "You're not going like that. You need the full glow up." That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. Not Lucas in disguise. Not someone playing a role. Just me. And I realized I wasn't afraid of Jake seeing me. I was afraid of what it meant that I wanted him to. The coffee shop was quiet. Jake was already there, nervous, sipping an iced drink, eyes scanning the door. When he saw me, he smiled. And for the first time in forever, I smiled back without pretending. He stood up.
"Wow.
You look amazing." "Thanks," I said, sitting down, smoothing my skirt beneath me. There was an awkward pause. Then he blurted out, "So, are you trans or something?" I froze. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. "I mean, sorry, that was probably rude," he added quickly. You're really convincing." like too convincing. I looked down at my drink, stirred it slowly, and then I said, honestly, I don't know what I am. He didn't flinch, didn't get up, didn't laugh. He just nodded. Okay, that's cool. Wanna tell me about it? We talked for 2 hours. About school.
About life.
About how it felt to be seen in a way that made everything more complicated, but also more real. He didn't judge. He listened. When we left, he offered a ride. I shook my head. I'll walk. But then he hesitated, scratched the back of his neck, and said, Can I see you again? My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. I wanted to say no, that this was too dangerous, that it was all a lie, but instead, I smiled again and whispered,
Yeah,
I'd like that. Delilah was buzzing with excitement the moment I stepped through her door.
You, me, tonight.
Full glam. I got us invited to a private shoot. I blinked. A shoot? Like photoshoot? Yes, she clapped. A real professional one. Fashion editorial style. My friend bailed and they need 2 models. Guess who they picked? I backed away. Delilah, I'm not. You are. Emma, you're gorgeous and you know it. This isn't just dress up anymore. This is your moment. She could see the hesitation in my eyes and softened. Come on, just try it. You might love it. An hour later, I was sitting in a stylist's chair, wearing a silky robe while a makeup artist carefully contoured my cheekbones. The room smelled like hairspray and perfume. Models floated around in heels and glittering gowns. Music pulsed through the studio. Flashbulbs popped. It felt like another world. Delilah grinned at me in the mirror. You're going to kill this. I wanted to argue, but when I looked at my reflection, I didn't see Lucas. I saw her.
Emma.
And she was radiant. The stylist handed me a sheer lavender dress, flowing fabric, delicate straps, and a thigh-high slit. My breath caught. It was beautiful, daring, and somehow mine. I stepped into it, heart pounding, and the fabric slid against my skin like water. The heels came next, tall, silver, impossible to walk in. But when I stepped onto the set, heads turned, cameras lifted, and suddenly I was the moment. The photographer snapped a few test shots, then paused. You've done this before, haven't you? I shook my head, too stunned to speak. He smiled. Well, you're a natural. Delilah and I posed together, back to back, laughing, glowing, fearless. The confidence in that room felt like electricity. But then, the director pulled me aside. You're stunning, he said. Mind doing a few solo shots? I hesitated. Sure. He guided me to a soft backdrop, handed me a pink faux fur coat, and whispered, Give me drama. And somehow,
I did.
I wasn't pretending anymore. I was being. Each pose, each glance, each slow twist of the hips. It was me. Not because someone forced me. Not because I was hiding. But because it felt right. The shoot ended around midnight. The stylist hugged me. You should do this professionally. Seriously. I laughed. I'm not even. Doesn't matter what you are, she cut in. You're magic on camera. I sat in Delilah's car afterward, staring out the window, heart racing. How do you feel? She asked quietly. I exhaled. Like I'm not sure I want to go back. She nodded. You don't have to. The next morning, the photos went live on the photographer's portfolio. One in particular went viral. Me, Emma, posing in that lavender dress, looking fierce and delicate and powerful. My inbox blew up. Modeling offers. Influencers tagging me. Even people from school commented. Who is this girl? She's stunning. I swear I know her. And just like that, Emma was no longer a secret. She was real. And there was no turning back. Monday morning, I walked through the school gates with my heart pounding in my chest. Everything should have felt normal. Except it wasn't. Because I wasn't Lucas anymore, not really. Not in the way people remembered. Not after those viral photos. They were everywhere. On Instagram. On Pinterest boards. Even a local magazine reposted the editorial with a caption. The next face of fashion? Meet Emma. People I didn't even know had liked, shared, and commented. And now, half the school was whispering about me. Not Lucas. Not the quiet guy from chemistry class. But Emma. I kept my head down, hoodie up, face bare, trying to disappear. But the universe didn't let me. Yo, did you guys see that model chick going viral? She looks kind of familiar, someone said behind me in the hallway. Another voice. She does. Bro, I swear she's in our school or something. I turned the corner and slammed right into Jake. He studied me, eyes lighting up.
Whoa.
Hey, man, I was just texting you. I forced a smile. What's up? Jake grinned. So, there's this girl, Emma. I know it sounds weird, but I feel like I've met her before. You've got to see this. He pulled out his phone, opened Instagram, and scrolled to the viral post. There I was. Frozen. In full makeup, the lavender dress clinging to every curve.
Fierce.
Feminine. Radiant. Jake looked at the screen, then at me. You're good with faces. Doesn't she remind you of someone? I choked on my breath. And no idea. Jake raised an eyebrow. You sure? I nodded too fast. Probably just lighting or filters or something. He laughed. Yeah, maybe. Still, she's insanely hot. Like dream girl hot. My stomach flipped. He didn't recognize me. But how long would that last? In class, things got worse. People passed around their phones. Girls kept staring. A group of junior cheerleaders whispered every time I walked by. And during lunch, someone printed out one of the modeling photos and taped it to my locker. A sticky note beside it said, "Do you know her? She goes here, right? Who is she?" I ripped it down, heart pounding. I wanted to scream, to disappear, to run back to Delilah's and hide under a pile of makeup wipes and wigs. But then, someone behind me whispered, "She's so pretty," and another added, "I wish I had her confidence." I didn't know what to feel anymore.
Panic?
Guilt? Validation? I was living a double life, and both were colliding. That night, I called Delilah, voice shaking. I think people are catching on.
Her voice was calm.
Let them. I'm serious, Delilah. Jake saw the photo. He didn't know it was me, but he's close. She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "What do you want to happen?" I paused. I don't know. Then maybe it's time you figure that out. Because the truth, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back to being Lucas. But I knew I wasn't ready to lose Jake. And I had a feeling I couldn't keep both for much longer. Delilah had been helping me prep for a last-minute shoot. Her photographer friend landed a deal with a beauty brand looking for fresh faces, and they needed someone today. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal, just a few glam shots in a polished blouse, glossy lips, and a soft smoky eye. Something simple, until they asked to shoot outdoors, right near the school. Don't worry, Delilah said, brushing blush across my cheeks. No one from school will be there. She was wrong.
So wrong.
We were just finishing the final set, me in a fitted lilac blouse, dark skinny jeans, and ankle boots, when I saw the car pull up. Jake's car. He got out casually, phone in hand, scanning the sidewalk. My heart stopped. He saw me. Or rather her. He froze. And then he stared. Confused. Squinting. Like his brain was short-circuiting. I panicked and turned away. But it was too late. "Emma," he said. I didn't turn around. "Emma, wait." His footsteps caught up to me. "What are you doing out here? Are you doing a shoot?" I stayed quiet. He stepped in front of me, eyes locking onto mine, and then I saw it. Recognition. His expression shifted. He looked closer. At my lips. My eyes. The bone structure under the makeup. He knew. "Lucas," he whispered. I felt like I'd been shot.
He took a step back. No.
No way. This can't be. What is this? Some prank. I shook my head, lips trembling. It's not a prank. He stared at me like he didn't know who I was. How long? Months, I whispered. Jake's voice dropped, angry now. So all that time you were lying to me? Pretending to be someone else? I wasn't pretending, I said, barely able to breathe. Emma is real. I didn't expect it to go this far. It just happened. Jake looked hurt. More than I'd ever seen. I told her things, he muttered. I told you things. Stuff I wouldn't even tell my own brother. I know. He looked away, running a hand through his hair. Was it all fake?
No.
Not a single second was fake. He didn't answer. He just stared at me. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. I couldn't breathe. I fell to my knees, mascara smudging as hot tears fell down my cheeks. Delilah rushed over, wrapping her arms around me. It had to come out sometime, she whispered. You were never going to be able to hide forever. I ruined everything, I sobbed. That night I didn't sleep, because I wasn't just grieving the secret. I was grieving Jake, and the fear that maybe, just maybe, Emma had cost me the one person who made me feel seen. By morning, the damage had already been done. Someone had snapped a photo, me in full glam, mid-shoot, with Jake in the frame. By lunch, it was viral in our school group chat. Is this Lucas? Wait, this is that girl Jake's been hanging out with. Bro, what the? I didn't even bother checking my phone after that. I couldn't walk through the halls without whispers brushing past my shoulders like knives. Girls stared. Boys laughed. Some looked confused. Some disgusted. A few looked curious. Jake didn't show up to class. He didn't message me. Didn't call. I sat through chemistry with a hollow chest. Even the teacher paused when she saw me. Tight black turtleneck, sharp eyeliner, soft curls. But she didn't say anything. Just took attendance with a flick of her pen. Delilah tried to keep close, shielding me like a bodyguard. But I felt exposed. Like the world had finally stripped me bare and wasn't sure whether to laugh or scream. Then came the note. Folded and slipped under my locker when no one was looking. Meet me behind the auditorium.
Now, Jake.
I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding like thunder in my chest. I could run.
Hide.
Never show up. But I folded the note, clutched it tight, and walked. He was already there. Leaning against the brick wall, hood pulled low, eyes dark. He looked up when I approached. We just stared at each other for a second. Then he spoke. You know they're all talking, right? I figured.
He sighed.
Some of them are saying it's fake. That it's a prank. It's not. I know. He hesitated. I saw you cry yesterday. I stayed silent. I felt stupid, he said. Like maybe I was the only one who didn't know. I thought I had good instincts, but I didn't see it. You weren't supposed to, I whispered. He nodded. But I should have. I should have seen you. Not just Emma. Not just Lucas.
You.
I swallowed hard. So, what happens now? Jake looked up at me. For the first time since he found out, his eyes softened. I don't know, he admitted. But I don't think I want to walk away. I blinked. You don't? No, he stepped closer. I don't care what your name is. Or what they say. I care about the person I connected with. The person who made me laugh when I thought I couldn't. Who listened. Who saw me. His hand reached out, hesitated, and then gently touched mine. I don't have all the answers, he said. But I know I want to figure them out with you. Tears filled my eyes again. But this time, they weren't from fear. They were from hope. The next morning, I didn't wake up as Lucas. I woke up as Emma, fully, completely, unapologetically. No more half measures. No more blending in. No more just for Delilah, or only for the shoot, or because Jake didn't know. This was me. And for the first time, I liked who looked back at me in the mirror. Delilah was the first to notice. When I walked into her room, already dressed, tight black jeans, cream blouse tucked in, light curls bouncing around my shoulders, and lips the softest shade of rose, she froze. You didn't wait for me to do your makeup. I smiled softly. I did it myself. Her mouth opened.
Closed.
Then tears shimmered in her eyes. Emma, she whispered. You're really doing this? I nodded. I don't want to hide anymore. I'm done living two lives. She pulled me into a hug, tight and warm and so proud. I knew you were in there, she whispered into my shoulder. And now the world will too. The school wasn't ready. As I stepped through the front doors, a silence rippled through the hallway. Then came the buzz.
Gasps.
Whispers.
Phones rising.
Snaps.
TikToks.
DMs firing. They'd seen glimpses before, but never this. Never Emma, owning her walk, chin up, eyes forward, heels clicking like war drums down the tiled floor. Boys blinked. Girls stared. Teachers adjusted their glasses. But no one said anything, until I reached my locker and saw her. Vanessa. Jake's ex. The one who started all this. She stepped in front of me, arms crossed, smirk dangerous. Well, look who's upgraded from his sister's closet. I didn't flinch. I'm not wearing her clothes, I said. These are mine. And so is this name.
Emma.
Her smirk flickered. Cute. Too bad Jake already came to his senses. My heart jumped, but I didn't let it show. You think he's yours again? I know how this works, sweetheart, she said, leaning in. Guys don't go for confused little boys in lipstick. They go for women. Real ones. That's when I heard the voice behind me. Then I guess I'm the exception. Vanessa's face froze. I turned and there he was.
Jake.
Confident.
Calm.
Standing just behind me like a shadow I could trust. He stepped beside me and laced his fingers with mine. She's not confused, he said. She's more sure of herself than you've ever been. Vanessa's cheeks burned red. You're making a mistake. No, Jake said, eyes on me. I'm making a choice. That moment broke the hallway.
People gasped. Cheered.
Some whispered louder than before, but it didn't matter. I had taken the mask off. Jake had seen who I really was. And he chose to stand by my side anyway. Later that day, Delilah handed me a flyer with a spark in her eye. It was for the Spring Festival Talent and Fashion Showcase, one of the biggest events of the year. Students performed, modeled, showed the world who they were. You should enter, she said. I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. As Emma, obviously. It's time you told your story. And deep down, I knew she was right. This wasn't just about a boy, or makeup, or revenge. It was about me, about being seen. And I was finally ready to take the stage, not as a joke, not as a dare, but as Emma. The Spring Festival Showcase had always been one of those things I watched from the sidelines. Pretty girls with perfect hair twirling under spotlights, confident voices performing songs or monologues like they had nothing to hide. But now, I was one of them. Except I wasn't just walking a stage. I was stepping into my identity, with the entire school watching. And that thought sent fear slicing through my chest like a cold blade. Delilah helped me design the look. We worked late into the night, surrounded by sketches, fabric swatches, and mood boards. You need something soft, she said, but strong. Feminine, but powerful. Like a flower that grew through concrete. She held up a dress. Light lavender silk, asymmetrical hem, delicate straps, and a flowing skirt that moved like liquid when I turned. My breath caught. It's beautiful. She smiled. So are you. The day of the show, I could hardly breathe. Backstage was chaos, music blaring, students rushing around, changing, shouting, applying glitter and panic in equal parts. I sat in front of a mirror, trying to steady my hands while applying my lipstick. Soft mauve. Same as the dress. I closed my eyes. Breathed in.
Out.
You've done harder things, I whispered. You've already lived through hell. This is just a runway. Delilah came to my side. She took my hand and whispered, they're going to remember this moment for the rest of their lives. I nodded. But before I could walk toward the curtain, a voice stopped me cold. You really think this is who you are? I turned. Vanessa, dressed in a sharp red mini dress and heels like blades. She crossed her arms, smirking as if she'd already won. You're just pretending, she said. A phase. A stunt. Something you'll regret when the makeup's gone and the world forgets your name. I'm not pretending, I said firm. Not anymore. Really? Then prove it. She stepped closer. Walk out there. Face them. But don't forget, half of them are waiting for you to fall. The other half are already laughing. The stage manager called out, "You're up next, Emma." My knees nearly gave out. Vanessa leaned in.
"Show's yours, darling."
"Let's see how long you last." I stepped into the wings. The lights dimmed. The music shifted. And then spotlight. My cue. I stepped onto the stage. For a second, everything went silent. The audience wasn't breathing. Neither was I. And then I walked. One step. Then another. Posture straight. Eyes forward. Dress flowing behind me like a second skin. There were gasps. There were murmurs. But there was also awe. I didn't walk like someone pretending. I walked like Emma, a girl who had fought to exist. And now no one could look away. At the end of the runway, I paused. Hands at my sides. Chin high. A small smile. And then applause. A wave of it.
Cheers.
Whistles. Someone even shouted, "Queen." Delilah stood off stage with tears in her eyes. Jake stood in the front row, beaming like he'd never been prouder of anyone. And Vanessa? She was frozen, eyes wide, hands curled into fists. Backstage, as I stepped off, students surrounded me. "That was stunning. You looked amazing. You're so brave." I smiled. But it wasn't bravery. It was just truth. I'd spent so long being afraid of what they'd say, what they'd think, what I'd lose. But today I saw what I gained. I didn't expect her to break down. Not after everything she did. But there she was, Vanessa, curled up on the concrete steps behind the auditorium, red dress crumpled, mascara streaked. "I never thought it would go this far," she whispered, voice cracking. I stood a few feet away, arms crossed over my lavender wrap. The warmth from the lights of the showcase still clung to my skin, but this was something else. "You wished me into this," I said softly. "You wanted to humiliate me, ruin me." "I wanted to win," she said bitterly. "But you became her." Her.
Emma. Me.
You became beautiful. You became real. And suddenly, everyone forgot I existed. I didn't say anything. What could I say? That her jealousy nearly destroyed me? That the wish, whatever power it held, had rewritten my life forever? But then she looked up. And her face wasn't cruel. It was small. Broken. I thought if I could control the story, I'd feel like I mattered. Later that night, I stood in front of the mirror in my room. The lights were dim. My makeup was slightly smudged. My heels were off. But I wasn't pretending. I brushed my fingers over my collarbone, over the soft fabric of the lavender dress. This wasn't a costume anymore. I was Emma. Fully. Undeniably. Jake knocked on the door. He came in slowly, a box in his hands. "What's that?" I asked. I found this in the library. It's the same book Vanessa used. The one with the wishes." My chest tightened. "I thought maybe you'd want to undo it," he said. "If you don't want to stay like this." I stared at the book. All I had to do was say the words. One line. And maybe it would reverse. Maybe I'd wake up as the old me again. Back to pants. A deep voice. Shoulders too wide. Hiding. Jake stepped forward. "Or you could tear it up." I looked at him. "Would you still like me if I did?" He smiled. "I don't like you because of a spell. I love you because you're you." Tears filled my eyes. I took the book, and I ripped it in half. Spring returned. This time, I walked the halls not with fear, but with quiet pride. People greeted me by name. Teachers respected me. Students followed my style on Instagram. And Jake? He held my hand in the open now. No more hiding. Vanessa transferred schools a few weeks after the showcase. Rumor was she'd started over. No more magic. Just therapy. Delilah was now head of the fashion club, and I was her co-president. Every now and then, I look in the mirror and remember how it all began. A wish meant to ruin me. A curse that turned into freedom. But now, I'm not anyone's type. I'm just me. And that's more powerful than any spell could ever be.